Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some which I grew up with and some which are new to me. We're going straight into gameplay this week because I made a small error during my preparations. I did a bunch of research and preparation, recording an intro and everything, only to realise sort of after I'd recorded all that and got everything prepared that I'd already covered the game in question, which was Paperboy, if you're wondering. So instead, I rather hastily changed my mind to Parasol Stars, which I thought might be interesting to look at this week because I've planned to look at the PC Engine version of this on Retro Select this week. So you'll see that this Friday at the time of recording and when this is broadcast. So this is the Atari ST version of Parasol Stars. We'll talk a little bit more about the background of Parasol Stars on Friday when we look at it in Retro Select. But I thought it might be interesting to have a look at the Atari ST version and be able to compare it directly to the PC Engine version. Now, the Atari ST version of this is a game that I have fond memories of, but it's one of those games like I've talked about before with Rodland, where I only ever had the original playable demo of it that was on ST Action's cover disc. I never owned the full version of this game. But I was always fascinated by this game because I thought it was cool. I thought it was a really nice arcade-style game that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing that demo because it provided a good taste of what the full game offered. And yeah, I really wanted the full version, but for one reason or another, never got hold of it. Anyway, Parasol Stars, the story of Rainbow Islands 2. Interestingly, the original PC Engine version positions this as the story of Bubble Bobble 3. So it's actually the third Bubble Bobble game and the second Rainbow Islands game. So, let us play. So the way this game works, you play Bubby or Bobby, and your job is to whack things with your parasol, and then chuck them into other things, which turns them into lovely, delicious fruit, which you can then grab for points. And ideally what you want to do, just like in Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Islands and so on, is you want to sort of set up combos, if you can, to sort of take out as many enemies at once as you possibly can. I'm just moving the wire out of the way. Because that will reward you with more valuable score items. Whoops. Death. As you can see, the larger, more dangerous enemies will reward you with more points. So yeah, in terms of attacking, what you do is if you hit the fire button, you attack with your parasol like that and hit in front of you. If you pull back on the joystick, you'll raise your parasol above your head instead. And that allows you to catch things above you and then fling them across the screen. So it's a very simple, very intuitive control scheme that works really, really well. I think I'd probably argue it works a bit better on the 2-button PC Engine controller, but it's certainly absolutely fine on the Atari ST using up to jump. And if you're lucky enough to have a modern Atari ST controller that allows you to map up to a particular button, then yeah, I recommend using that for this. Now this piano in the middle here, this is a sort of enemy spawner thing, so the only way you can defeat that is by actually throwing another enemy into it. You can't hit it with your parasol yourself. Come here. Alright, what it might be worth doing here is grabbing some water droplets. And you'll see if you grab enough of them, you get a huge water droplet which you can then sploosh out like that. Some levels it's pretty much essential to do that to get all the enemies. In others it's just fun. So this is a good example where it's important to use that because that's the only way you can reach a lot of those enemies. And we're still having trouble getting them. Whoops! Yeah, this was very popular back on its original release in its ST incarnation because it was one of the higher quality sort of console style games that came out on the platform. And you can hopefully see why, because I mean the graphics are very nice. The sound obviously has the ST's usual limitations with that 3-channel sound chip. But it does a perfectly competent job of recreating the music tracks from the PC Engine version. You just kind of tend to lose a channel of it when you when there's sound effects going on. Which is a bit of a shame, but not the end of the world. And ST users at the time would have been very much used to that. When you've only got 3 sound channels to play with, you have to deal with limitations like that. Alright, we are loading. Is it boss time? It is, yes. So in this one we have to grab the lightning bottle here. And then that allows us to charge up a lightning bolt on our parasol and fling it at the boss. While enjoying the sounds of the lambada. I somehow doubt that they licensed the lambada for this. Because this was still very much the age where a lot of game developers thought that they could just get away with using well-known pieces of music. And I mean, I guess you can describe it as a sort of derivative work rather than a straight rip-off, because they're not using a recording of that original work. They're not using a recording of the lambada. They're using a chiptune version of it that a music programmer would have had to go through and painstakingly recreate for themselves. So I feel like that's sort of all right. Oh god, lions. Oh, look at that dodgy scrolling. ST at its finest. Yeah, the poor ST did struggle with scrolling, bless it. Oops. I'm losing many a life right now. But yeah, as I say, I tend to think of this in the same way as I think of Rodland on the Atari ST, in that no, it may not be perfect, it may have a few sort of little foibles that are what you come to expect from games on the platform, but you know, compared to a lot of other stuff around at the time, this is very good. Oops! And you know, despite the frame rate taking a bit of a dive now and then, it does keep the speed up nicely. It's responsive. Like, there's no sluggishness to the controls even when the frame rate slows down, so oh dear me. Oh, we do have a continue. Good. Alright, let's continue. Oh, we've only got 1 credit though. Should have put my brolly up above my head there, shouldn't I? Oh dear, I've made a mess for myself. There we are, that's more like it. Now I can't get out of this middle section. Don't you fire lightning at me, that's my job. Firing lightning at you, that is, not firing lightning at myself. Pew! Pew! Eh. Don't you spit fireballs at me, you filthy bird. Big strawberry! One up. Lovely. This is the one thing the Bubble Bobble games were always excellent at, which is just sort of showering you with goodies and making you feel great about what you just achieved, even if what you just achieved wasn't actually all that remarkable. Whoops! I just like the sense of chaos in this game is really nice. There's like just enough chaos to keep it interesting, but it never feels completely overwhelming. Oh no. Now we're out of credits, I think. Yeah, there we are. So this is quite a commonplace thing in arcade-style games for the Atari ST. Whereas today, with kind of arcade-style game, I know this isn't an arcade conversion because it's a PC Engine game originally rather than an arcade game. But yeah, sort of standard practice with Atari ST versions of arcade games was to give you a limited number of credits. Occasionally, you might be able to get an extra credit with a certain number of points or making a certain amount of progress. But in most cases, it was like, you got 2 credits and that's it. Not only that, but if you want to play 2-player, you're using both of those credits. So there's no continuing for you in 2-player mode, and I've already lost a life, so that's not a great start, is it? You'll notice the lack of options menu as well. So like there's no options. It's like you play it Ocean's Way and you'll like it. Oh my god, this is terrible. Absolutely atrocious. Alright, give me all the cake. Oh, giant cake. 1 up. I will take that 1 up. And I will love it. Give me the cake. 3,000 points apiece. Valuable cake. Yeah, I still like this game a lot. I do prefer the PC Engine version now that I've got easy access to it. But this is still a perfectly competent version of it. And if you collect for Atari ST, it's a game that's worth having in your collection. It's one that I still wouldn't mind collecting a copy of to have in my own personal collection. Because even though the majority of my Atari ST gaming these days is done via emulation, just because it's a little bit more convenient to record and stuff like that, I still like having the packaging so I can look at the manuals and I can look at the box art and I can admire the discs, and I can, when I do feel like it, I can plonk the disc into a real ST and enjoy the snark 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 sound of that disk drive. It's my friend Chris and I were discussing the other day loading breaks and disk drive noise are an important part of retro gaming. It's like Sony and Microsoft making a big deal out of their no load times on their latest consoles, and you're like, you know, I kind of like load times. Because they build anticipation. They build excitement. I've always felt that way anyway. Like, there's nothing quite like getting to the end of a stage, hearing the disk drive fire up, and you know, oh god, what's going to happen next? I mean, like, this is a good example. You finish the world, and then you get a loading break, and then the boss shows up, and you're like, ah, exciting things are happening. I'm not even going to get to the boss at this rate, am I? Don't know what that power-up does. But, oh well. There we go. Giant strawberry! Oh no, one up this time. Load time. Boss time. Give me that lightning. Pew! 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 Alright, the shameless sprite mirroring on him coming the other way. It's like, I didn't even try to reverse the text. Alright, on to the forest world, scene of my previous death. Alright, get rid of the tree straight away. That seems like a good way of doing things. Oh, jumpy cars! Jumpy cars are my demise! Continue. Yes, I think I will continue. I'm having fun. Oh no! Careless. Very careless. Pew 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 pew! You don't scare me, unicorns. You don't scare me at all. Pew! Delicious point-filled ice cream. Cake! Giant cake! One up. Lovely. As we all know, cake beats fruit in the late 80s power-up game. Just late 80s or early 90s, I've forgotten. I think it was early 90s. Not that it matters. The same period. Ooh, star thing with a rainbow. 500 points and no real indication of if it did anything. That's fine though. Huh. catch some more. Fling them that way. Grab you. Fling you over there. I love it when you take something out off screen and there's just like showers of fruit come flying in. So this is one of those games where there's just a really nice feeling of power. Even though all you're doing is whacking things with an umbrella. This game made umbrellas cool. Oh, this is where we died last time, wasn't it? I think. Let's do our best. Right, you. Oh, I can't reach. I can't reach. Stop throwing lines at me. Now I can reach you. I shall throw lines at you. No, you shall kill me with your lines. Ow. Oh, I killed myself. Anyway, hopefully that's given you a good idea of how Parasol Stars on the Atari ST works. As I say, tomorrow on Retro Select, we'll be looking at the PC Engine version of it, so you can compare and contrast, as you like. That's sometimes quite interesting to do with retro games, I find, because sometimes different versions of a game are notably different from one another. And that's particularly the case when you look at things like arcade games versus their 8-bit ports in particular. But there's also sometimes a few differences between the arcade version and the 16-bit versions and the console versions and the 16-bit home computer versions. This ST version is actually pretty close to the PC Engine version. It doesn't move quite as smoothly. It doesn't move at quite as consistent a frame rate. But in terms of visual presentation, certainly, it's pretty damn close. Which goes some distance to explaining why this was such a well-received game back at its time of original release, and why I sank so many hours into the ST Action demo disc of this, despite never actually owning the full game. Anyway, that was Parasol Stars from Ocean for Atari ST. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.